Hi, my name is Carol Titus, and I serve as the community liaison for Camp 180. My role is to connect learners, parents, and local partners, ensuring that our program reaches the community who needs it the most.
Hi everyone, welcome back to our Python 2D game development course. We're in week 3, lesson 9 of the Python basic module. I'm Carol Titus from Camp 180. Before we dive in, let's quickly recap lesson 8 homework. You created a simple calculator that asked the user for two numbers, let them choose an operation, and then used if, elif, and else to calculate and print the result. If you completed that, congratulations! You practiced handling multiple conditions and making your program flexible. Today, we're going to take your decision-making skills even further. We'll learn how to combine conditions using logical operations, and we'll also cover why proper indentation is critical in Python. In programming, sometimes a single condition isn't enough. You might want your program to check multiple things at once. That's where logical operators come in. Python has three main logical operators, and both conditions must be true, or at least one condition must be true, and not reverses the truth value. For example, imagine a game where you can enter a secret room only if you have a key and a special code. Or you want to show a warning if the player is too young or doesn't have permission. Logical operators let us handle these situations efficiently. Create a file called logical underscore examples.py. Let's start with the AND operator. First, create a variable called age and give it a number to show how old the person is. For example, you can write age equals 16 to say the person is 16 years old. Then you create another variable called has underscore permission and set it to true if the person has permission to enter. Next, write an if statement to check two conditions at the same time. If age is greater or equal to 13 and has underscore permission is true, this line asks, is the person at least 13 years old and do they have permission? Both conditions must be true for the next action to happen. If both conditions are true, print, you can enter the game. After that, use an else statement for the situation when one or both conditions are not true. Inside the else block, print, sorry, you cannot enter. This will show a message saying the person cannot enter if they are too young or don't have permission. In short, the code first checks the age and permission, and if both are okay, it welcomes the person. If either is not okay, it shows a message that the person cannot enter. Now, let's look at OR. First, create a variable called age and give it a number to show how old the person is. For example, you can write age equals 10 to say the person is 10 years old. Then you create another variable called has underscore permission and set it to true if the person has permission. Now, write an if statement to check two conditions, but this time use or instead of and. The if statement checks if age is greater or equal to 13 or if has underscore permission is true. This line asks, is the person at least 13 years old or do they have permission? Here, only one condition needs to be true for the next action to happen. If at least one condition is true, print, you can enter the game. After that, use an else statement for the situation when both conditions are not true. Inside the else block, print, sorry, you cannot enter. This will show a message saying the person cannot enter if they are too young and also do not have permission. In short, the code checks the age and permission, and if at least one of them is okay, it welcomes the person. If both are not okay, it shows a message that the person cannot enter. Now, let's use not. Create a variable called is_band and set it to either true or false. For example, you can write is_band equals false to say the person is not banned. Write an if statement that uses the word not. The if statement checks if not is_band. The word not flips the value. If is_band is false, then not is_band becomes true. If is_band is true, then not is_band becomes false. If not is_band is true, print welcome. This will show a message letting the person play the game. After that, use an else statement for the situation when not is banned is false. Inside the else block, print you cannot play. This will show a message if the person is banned. In short, the code checks if the person is not banned. If they are not banned, it welcomes them. If they are banned, it does not let them play. You can also combine more than one logical operator in the same if statement. For example, you can create 3 variables. Age equals 15, comma, has_permission equals true, and is_VIP equals false. Next, write an if statement to check if age is greater or equal to 13 and if has_permission is true or if is_VIP is true. The parentheses make Python check what is inside them first. In this case, Python asks, is the person at least 13 years old or do they have permission? If that is true or if is_VIP is true, then the person can play. If the conditions are met, print you can play the game. Otherwise, use else block to print access denied. In short, Python checks the parentheses first, then uses the rules for and or. This lets you build more complex decisions for your game, such as allowing someone to play if they meet the normal rules or if they are a VIP. Why indentations matters. Python does not use braces like some other programming languages to show which line of code belong together. Instead, it uses indentations, which means spaces at the beginning of a line. Indentation tells Python which code is inside a block. For example, if you write score equals 10 and then check if an if statement, if score is greater than F, the line under it must be indented. You can write print, you passed, and print great job indented under the if. These lines will only run if the condition is true. If you then write another line without indentation, like print, this will always run, that line is outside of the if block. This means it will run no matter what, even if the condition is false. It is very important to keep indentation consistent. In Python, you should always use either 4 spaces or a tab for each level of indentation, but never mix them. Quick experiment. Try this experiment. Ask the user for their age. Whatever number they type is saved as their age and converted to an integer. Then ask if they have a ticket by showing the question. Do you have a ticket? Yes or no? If they type yes, the program saves that as true. If you type no, the program saves it as false. Next, write an if statement to check two conditions. The if statement checks if the user is 18 or older and if they have a ticket. If both are true, print. You can enter the concert. Then use an elif statement to check a different situation. This line checks if the user is 18 or older and do not have a ticket. If this is true, print you need a ticket to enter. Finally, use an else statement for the situation where neither of the other conditions are true. Inside the else block, print, sorry, you're too young. The code first asks for the user's age and whether they have a ticket. Then it checks the input information using and, not, and elif. Based on the user inputs, it shows one of three messages. You can enter, you need a ticket, or you are too young. Don't forget to update your coding journal. Write down how you combined conditions with and, or, and not. What happened when you changed the inputs? Any indentation errors and how you fixed them. There's a step-by-step written guide for this lesson available on Gumroad with typed code examples. You'll also find the full Module 1 Python Basics package there, covering lessons 1 to 12, exercises, cheat sheets, and more. Links are in the description. I really encourage you to go through the tutorial and run your own code. Practice is the fastest way to learn. Here's your homework for lesson 9. Create a new file called event_access.py. Ask the user for their age and whether they have a ticket. Ask if they are a VIP. Use if, elif, and else with logical operators to print. If the age is 18 or older and they have a ticket, they can enter. If they are 18 or older but don't have a ticket, print a message saying they need a ticket. If they are under 18 but are a VIP, allow them to enter. Otherwise, print a message saying they cannot enter. Optional challenge. Add a message if they are exactly 18 and have VIP status, like special welcome. Today, you learned how to combine multiple conditions using and, or, and not, and why indentations is crucial in Python. These tools help you write smarter programs and prevent common mistakes. In the next lesson, we'll explore for loops, which allow you to repeat code multiple times efficiently, a skill you'll use in almost every game. Thanks for learning with me, and we'll see you in lesson 10.